In this video, I'm going to show you how to make an infinity scarf, a simple loop, great beginner's project. I'm Christine of Christine's Crafts, and this channel is dedicated to crafting on a budget. So all you're going to need is a great big piece of cloth. So it's up to you what fabric you use, and these measurements, you can adjust them. But I made mine 12 inches wide, so that's how wide the rectangular fabric is that I cut, and I cut it 60 inches long. Now, if you haven't got a piece of fabric 60 inches long, you could join some sections together to make it that long. That'll work absolutely fine. You can try lots of different fabrics for this, but I'm using a jersey fabric. So whatever fabric you use, you need to fold it in half lengthways so that the right sides are facing each other. And you need to make sure those edges match up and make sure those ends match up. Now, you'll see this is a little bit of a faff for me because I'm using jersey. The edges tend to roll up and just make it a little bit tricky to work with. If you're using a cotton, it's just going to go very simply. You could easily do these with a fleecy fabric or indeed anything you want. Experiment. And as I said earlier, mine's 12 inches wide, but you could do it wider or you could do it narrower, depending what effect you want. In fact, play around and make a few. So work your way all the way along the length and either pin or clip it together. And then you're going to sew all the way along the length. So you're making a tube of fabric with the right side on the inside of the tube. So when you get to the other end, your ends should match up again. Now, if you weren't very accurate with your cutting, they might not quite match, but don't let that worry you. Just take yourself to the end and then sew along the whole length. And then once you've sewn all the way along and got yourself a tube, it's time to turn it through. But be careful, before you do, I recommend at each end you mark opposite the seam. So you'll see I'm going to do it by cutting a little notch with the scissors. It doesn't matter, you could just mark it with a pen, but you want to mark opposite the seam. Now you'll also notice when you look at my tube that my stitches are slightly zigzag, and that is because I'm using jersey, which is stretchy, and that just helps the stitches to not rip. So once you've got them marked, feed your arm all the way through your tube from one end to the other. Get hold of that end and pull it through so that it matches up with the other end. So you're not pulling the whole thing through, you're pulling it so that one half is inside the other. And then make sure you haven't twisted it and match up your seams and pin or clip them together. So make sure those seams are lying one on top of the other. And make sure you haven't twisted the tube as you brought it through. And then if you look, you'll have your marks or your notches that you can match up on the other side. And doing this is going to help you to get a really good finish and to not stretch it and twist it and have it looking unprofessional. So once you've matched those up, you're going to work your way around those edges and just pin or clip them together. Now what you do need to do is make sure you leave part of it open because you're going to need to turn all this through once you've sewn it. So on this side you'll see I'm going to leave quite a wide space so that we can turn it through. So I suggest you do leave a good 3 or even 4 inches. Take it over to machine and sew around that seam. And then turn the whole lot through the hole you left. It can get a little bit fiddly depending on your fabric, but just persevere, keep pulling, keep pushing and get it all through so that all your fabric is on the right side. You can see it's pulling through nicely and then you'll have an infinity scarf. However, you've still got the hole you left to turn it through. So make sure you go back to that hole and we're going to close it up. So make sure you pin or clip those edges together so they're as if you've sewn them. And then you've got two choices. You can either just whiz along that with your machine and it's done, or you can hand sew it with a ladder stitch like I'm doing here. And if you want to hand stitch, just get yourself a knot and get yourself through so you get started and your thread secure. And then work your way along the hole, taking a little bit of fabric from one side and then a little bit of fabric from the other, and repeat, and work your way all the way along your gap that you left, just taking a bit from each side. So you'll see I put my needle in one side and then the needle in the other, and just catch a bit from each. And you can do it just one bit at a time, or you can do a few. It's up to you, it depends how experienced you are. But as you work your way along, what you'll find is you make an invisible seam. So it is a better finish, I think, which is why I've sewn mine like that. So once you get to the other end, you need to make sure you secure your thread, otherwise it'll come undone. You can see I'm just getting there now. So once you get to the end, you do an ordinary stitch and then you feed your needle through the loop that you make so that it forms a small knot. So feed it through and there you go. And then push your needle through the fabric to pop out somewhere else to just add a little bit of length and cut it off. And there you go, you've got an infinity scarf. So well done. I hope you enjoy making your infinity scarf. Try lots of different fabrics, make them for friends. They just add a real pop to any outfit. So good luck with yours and thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please give me a thumbs up below if you have. And please subscribe if you want to see some more of my tutorials. Thank you.